Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So this is video number 2 of my final year project planning video series, which I'm doing, which is basically me as currently a second year electrical engineering student, which is basically me currently as a second year electrical student preparing for my final year project, which is a project that electrical engineering students and other engineering students do in their final year of university, which here in the UK is my third year for me. So in the last video, I went through some of the ideas and things that I'm thinking about for the project. And in this video, I'm just going to touch on where my mindset is at now and what the current plan is. So I've split my planning of it into two kind of sections. So the first section being the main project, which is basically all of the things that I went through in the last video. So for example, the project requirements. So students are required to develop a product, ideally for a client external to the course team. Students should research the requirements of the product, synthesize information, ideas and practices to create a design, and then implement the product. They should then evaluate both the product and their own performance throughout the process. So although this, I would like to do something externally for, an external client, what I've found is that usually you're bound by like non-disclosure agreements. So you wouldn't be able to, for example, document what you're doing and post it online. You wouldn't really be able to talk too much about it other than in the general sense afterwards. And so that doesn't really suit me, and it's not something that really motivates me. Basically, I get it, but I'm basically working for free, and with the amount of effort that I would like to put into this final year project, which I'm guessing is going to be 2 or 3 times the amount of effort that, maybe even more actually, but yeah, 2 or 3 times the amount of effort that my other fellow students are going to put into it, then I would like to do something that is much more open. So I spoke about some of the things that I'm thinking about. I've gone into a bit more detail, and if you watch my last video, then you can see that I've restructured a lot of this stuff. So for example, I put my potential products that I'm considering doing, organize them by industrial products, consumer products, and charity stuff, things I'm looking into. So I've done a bit more research into all of this, but I'm actually taking a slight step back from this, which is the main project of what I'm doing. And the reason being here is I've put up here my pre-project, which is basically the time from today up until I actually start my project. And the reason why is I feel like instead of starting my final year project, I need to do more preparation to learn more. So one thing I found is that as I was researching a lot of this kind of stuff, I realized I just don't know anything. Like, you realize how little you know. As I'm at the end of my second year in electrical engineering, and I think I would struggle to make a basic voltage divider circuit. Do you know what I mean? So when I'm then looking at some projects that I could do and could work on, for example, like backup power generation, renewable power batteries, blockchain energy, PCB CAD design. When I'm looking at this kind of stuff, I'm like, bloody hell, mate, I'm so far away from being able to do this stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm now, if you see here, I've got 2 aims. I've got my aim, which is I want to learn more to allow for better planning of the actual project. So I'm looking to now focus more, instead of on the project itself, on the kind of skills I would like to display and use in my project, if that makes sense. So for example, here I've got skills I'd like to display. So I'd like to have my final year project involve some programming, quite like some high level, deep, doesn't really make sense, high level and deep, but an advanced display of programming basically. I would also like to include a lot of circuit design, physical, actual calculation, mathematical circuit design. I'd like to include PCB design. I'd like to do some CAD, which is a computer aided design. So there's a lot of things that I would like to do, and each one of these I'm at such a low level. Like PCB design is 0. I've never done it, which is crazy. CAD design, again, I've done a little bit, but not really. Circuit design, I've done circuit calculations. As for designing circuits, no way. And then programming, this is probably my strong suit, but not really. I mean, I had somebody email me recently asking me for help on their programming project, and I was like, mate, what this guy's asking me, he was an electrical engineering student as well, and what he was asking me, I was embarrassed. I was like, I don't have a clue what he's on about. Anyway, so let's look at my current plan, and then I've also highlighted here some areas that I need to work on. So areas I need to work on, I'm thinking about, power generation and the grid. So I've got like some microgrid knowledge, which I'll just show you here. These are some of the things that, for example, I know that I need to look into and learn about. So over the summer, I'm going to spend a fair bit of time learning about microgrid, just the knowledge behind all of it. So, what a distributed generation system is, a district energy system, an energy improvement district, what community microgrids are, what balancing is, what anti-islanding is, nanogrids. So there's quite a lot of stuff that I need to look into. And so, yeah, I need to research these kind of things. I've got, okay, all of this is all microgrid stuff. So I'm looking at working on power grid and generation. I'm also looking at getting into coding, Arduino, Raspberry Pi projects, and then battery stuff, learning about BMS and stuff like that. So the current plan now where I'm at is fivefold, basically. So the first part, and probably the easiest part for me, is to learn more about building lots of small basic projects. So this is a list of some projects that I've got which I'd like to get started on ASAP. Basically all of these projects here, so you can see about 20 of them, I would like to get them all done, within the next kind of 2-3 months. Not because the projects in and of themselves, they're not really useful. Like, they are useful in some sense, but at the same time, I could easily purchase this stuff for probably cheaper than it's going to cost me to make it, to do the same thing, So for example, like making a sleep tracker, making motion lights, GPS car module, air quality monitor, an Arduino or Raspberry Pi wearable, energy saving devices, solar fan, energy meter. So I've got a bunch of small basic projects, but the purpose is for me to just at least get good experience under my belt dealing with all of these things. So in a recent video, I put up where I made a car temperature and humidity sensor. It's such a simple project, but it took me over 50 hours to do, and it was incredibly difficult, even though it's so simple. And doing it, I realized how little I know about everything. So the hope is that for me to start building some of these projects, hopefully, even though they're in theory super simple, and especially people on YouTube make it look super simple, I'm hoping that by me learning this kind of stuff, so for example, we take a look at a front door sensor where you have, for example, like these magnetic strips. So I'll show you here. You got these magnetic strips on the door, and in that way it will let you know when the door's open or closed. So, for example, I could set off a light in my hallway. I could, so what I was thinking, for example, for this one here is to have this magnetic sensor attached to my front door, and then I've got a Wi-Fi bulb in my hallway, which is, usually white, right? So I can get it to flash, or I can get it, for example, to go green when I walk in, for example. So that's the kind of stuff that I was thinking about doing there with that. So again, it sounds super simple and is almost basically useless, but at the same time, I'm hoping that I'll learn a lot by doing those things. So that's the current plan in terms of the first aspect of it, which is to build small projects. Then I'd like to obviously complete a bunch of circuit kits. So I've purchased a bunch of kits from Aliexpress. So these are half of what I've got, and then I'm going to buy some more things. But basically, you'll see that, for example, there, if you have a look here, a £1.16 infrared proximity DIY kit control switch. So yeah, I'm looking at basically completing all of these kits, and when I'm doing them, learning exactly how they work. So I'm thinking, if I combine between all of these AliExpress kits, which they're all going to be super easy to build. If you have a look here, electronic funny kit, voice control, melody. So yeah, so basically learn how to build all of these kits, and then learn how they actually work as well. So if I combine that, where I'm doing physical circuit stuff, and then at the same time I'm doing this alongside the small projects that I'm working on, I'm hoping that I'll be able to get a lot of well-grounded, electronics experience there. So that's the plan with that. And obviously reading books. At the moment, I've only got the Make Electronics book, which I'm enjoying and I'm going through. So I'm going to continue going through those kind of books where I can learn more about relays and stuff like that. And then I'd like to add a bunch more books here that I can study. And there are, like, my experience with electrical engineering books is terrible. I'm given books to study as part of my courses, but then I find that I only study the book, in order to be able to pass the exam, and I don't ever study the book in order to learn what's going on. So I've gone through a fair amount of books in the last 18 months of studying electrical engineering, and very little has stuck. So I need to get, like, for example, there's books like Practical Electronics for Inventors. There's the gold one. I can't remember what it's called now. Yeah, so there's quite a few books that I'd like to go through, work through, but it needs to be quite it needs to be quite interesting, and books tend to be quite boring. So I'd like to try and go through some online courses, but I haven't really found any that are really suitable. Most of them are quite basic, but yeah, I'm planning on finding some decent online courses that I can go through. In this instance, I was thinking more like kind of detailed, advanced YouTube tutorials, but again, there's not many people going through step by step the projects that they're working on. So usually most people like to just summarize the project that they've worked on in a 10-minute video. And so that's good for viewers. It's not great for someone who would like to copy the project. And so, yeah, I'd like to go through some more kind of like online courses. I should probably put like /tutorials, because there are a lot of good websites where people have taken the time to write articles on how to do certain projects. So I'd like to do that. And then I've got here build more advanced projects, which are basically larger, better versions of these small basic projects. So I expect that, for example, a small basic project would take me, anywhere from a day to a couple of days to do. Whilst these like more advanced projects, for example, like making your own DIY multimeter, which I've got here, you can imagine that making this a full-on multimeter will probably, probably these projects are going to take, I would think, a week or a few weeks. So for example, here I've got a mains connected house energy tracker. So literally, like, using these kind of clamps, if you have a look, the current loggers, to track how much, so you put that around your mains thing and track how much energy you're using in your house. So working on this kind of stuff is going to be probably a little bit more complicated and take a lot more time. So, but if over the summer I can even just do a few of these projects, so the more advanced complex stuff, like for example building a wind turbine, I think it's doable. And at least if I can get a wind turbine, a solar tracker. So I've got here, for example, in my small projects, a solar tracking panel, right, which is just very small, basic, use a little servo motor, for example, to turn a solar panel. But then here, for example, making a large one, have a look at this, making a large solar tracker that would actually track a big solar panel and move it around. That's gonna, I assume, require a lot more skill. So here you can see he's using 2 DC motors. So these are the kind of things that I'm thinking about, and I do think that over this coming summer period, which I think I get like 3 months off or something like that, I don't see why I couldn't do all of these projects here. And in that way, as I'm working on all of this stuff, I haven't abandoned the main project. The goal is to keep the main project in mind, all the stuff that I'd like to work on, whilst I'm doing and learning about this stuff. So, that way, as I'm, for example, working on my air quality monitor, I could be like, wouldn't it be a good idea for wind turbines to have air quality monitors integrated? And then, for example, go, okay, maybe I could work on that as a project. That's just a random idea. It just came to my mind. So let's just have a look at some of the research that I've done for these small basic projects, because although I haven't put that much time into this. I spent about 3 hours just searching through each project that kind of would come to my mind, and then I would go and search through YouTube and search through websites to look for people that have done similar projects, so that way, I just put their links into the here, and then I can come back to it later on. So, for example, I've got here a sleep tracker, which would be cool to make. I would basically like to try and work on small electronics, because if I'm going to make a full project, I would like, oftentimes it needs to be battery powered, small, dealing with SMD components. So yeah, thinking about making like a kind of a wearable like sleep tracker here. So I've got some links here to YouTube, to Arduino, Adafruit. So for example, like this guy here, he's using a camera using OpenCV to watch himself when he sleeps. That's a bit creepy. I'm not going to do that. But this guy's, for example, fitness tracker. I think this is cool. So coming out with stuff like this, and learning how to, for example, I don't know how possible it would be, but to cut up the Arduino board to make it even smaller, to maybe design my own custom Arduino boards, that kind of stuff. Working on all this kind of stuff, this really excites me. So yeah, and then let's go through. So we'll go through all of them quickly, and then I'll round this video up. So we've got a smart camera, got a bunch of links here. If you're interested in any of the stuff yourself, let me know, and maybe I could copy it and send you a link to some of these. So solar tracking panel, an energy meter. This stuff's really cool. You can see, nowadays there's just so much information available to us. So a solar fan. And then energy saving device. So yeah, so the plan is to basically for me to pick one of these and then go through and watch these YouTube videos that people have made, look through some of these projects that people have made. Look at this, like someone made here an ECG monitor. How sick is that? Even look, DIY light up shoes. Like that's not easy to do, man. All right. Air quality monitor. GPS car module. So again, they're all, fairly basic projects, but there's just so much available to us that we could do. Mains frequency checker. But just imagine, if I actually do complete all of these different projects, you can see how, how much you would learn. Let's say, for example, I didn't do any of the projects and I just watched all of these videos and had a look through all of these articles. Can you imagine? Just that alone, I feel like I would be in a much better place when it comes to preparing for my final year project. So, or at least planning for it. It's very difficult to plan for something when you literally have, you don't even know what's possible. I don't even know what's difficult and what's not difficult. I don't really even know what I enjoy and what I dislike. I have some sort of an idea, but yeah. So this is all the small projects that I've come up with. I'm going to be expanding on this stuff, but for now, if I can get this stuff done in the next couple of months, I'll be very happy with that. So you can expect on this channel for me I'll be documenting all of these videos, and then maybe what I might do is just show. Yeah, I'm not really sure what in the next updates on this final year project I'll be doing. The plan is, I don't really have a plan. It's basically just to record and let you know where my mind's at for, the final year project. And the goal would be that, let's say I make something absolutely amazing, I would like to document how I got there. And for example, how, although this thing's amazing now, I was, a year ago just struggling to make a GPS car module. Do you know what I mean? So that's the plan. The plan is to to basically take you guys on this journey and show you both how complex and how simple this is. I think that's a good way of putting it, because this is mad complicated, but also probably mad simple as well. All right, that's it for me. I shall see you guys in the next one. Take care.